Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 30 Days Growth Marketing course. And today is day 29 already. So it's the second last lesson of the course. And before we start, Swati, how do you feel?
Yeah, it feels great. I think time just flew by and we're already here, day 29.
I think we should do, we should do a sort of like an overview of whatever we learned towards the end. And I think this lesson actually is that, it's putting together everything that you learned in one place. And I call it the growth stack. And I used to call it my growth experiment tracker when I would track all the growth experiments that I was doing. And then it evolved over time to sort of my growth stack. And the reason why I call it my growth stack is because it's a stack of the tools that I use. It's a stack of the different goals that I have worked on for using growth marketing. It's a stack of metrics that I have worked on. And that helps me, tap into my database of growth marketing or whatever I have done, and then use it for my future clients, since I consult businesses as a growth marketer. But it applies to individual businesses as well. So whatever business people are doing, they can create a growth stack for their business, right, as an entrepreneur. And for you, let's say, for example, for you as a marketer, you can create a growth stack of your own experiments that you've done. Maybe it's across different clients. Maybe it's for the same company if you work for a company. But this will be like your library of, growth marketing, and it will also serve as a growth marketing experiment tracker. Yeah,
got it.
So currently, Swati, if you're doing different kinds of marketing campaigns, etc., how do you track them? Like what software or app do you use?
So I was using mostly Google Analytics and SEMrush to track analytics, and also for Instagram, for example, in-app insights and analytics work good.
Right. But in terms of like the experiments that you're running, let's say you have to do marketing campaigns, right? So if you know that I have to do marketing campaigns on Creator for influencer marketing, let's say I have to do a marketing campaign on, like you said, Instagram for Mother's Day or something which is coming up. So where do you track all of those campaigns? Like where do you track what needs to be done? What's the goal? What needs to be, what's the output, etc.?
Yeah, so mostly on ClickUp, we have I maintain a calendar, and outside ClickUp, either on Google Docs or a spreadsheet that's like for the personal use.
Right. So I think ClickUp is a great choice. As you know, we use ClickUp at Mapplinks, but then some people use Notion, which is also great. Notion is another one. But no matter what people use, I think one thing which is common to everyone is a spreadsheet, right? So if you use, even if you're using Excel for some reason, or Google Sheets or Notion or ClickUp, Asana, Basecamp, Monday, whatever, it all comes down to having a table, like a spreadsheet with some data in it. And we'll follow that format. And that can be translated very easily into ClickUp, like you said, or any other platform. So this is the growth stack. Okay, this is my growth stack / experiments tracker. And it's very simple. It looks full of data. That's because there are many experiments here. The first tab is a sample, which I have created for this particular course. Okay. And then the second tab is the library of experiments. These are the experiments, all of the experiments that I've done in the past, everything in one place. Okay. And then the third one is the experiments which I'm currently running, which is sort of confidential. So we'll skip that tab, but essentially it's the same format, but the current experiments that I'm running. Okay. So I wouldn't mind showing that, of course, at some point in future on a YouTube video or something. But since I'm currently running them, I don't know what the outcome will be. I have some past data, but I'm not sure. So I don't want to share that. But yeah, this is a sample sheet. And let's walk through this first. So first thing is, of course, what I want to call the experiment. It's up to me. Maybe it's an email drip campaign. Maybe it's a referral program that I'm doing. Maybe it's a influencer marketing campaign. Maybe it's a chatbot integration. So these are like 9 different experiments here. Okay. The second thing is the workflow. This is something we discussed. We had a separate lesson on how to create growth marketing workflows. And this is essentially a summary of that workflow. What are the 3 steps, 4 steps, 2 steps to optimize this? I usually have 3 steps, and I'm able to summarize things into 3 steps, just easy for me to remember. But people can also, make 4 steps, 5 steps. It's up to them. So for example, with the chatbot integration, I want to implement a chatbot on the website and social media, train the chatbot to answer common questions, and then track user satisfaction. That's my workflow with the chatbot, right? The next thing is, what am I aiming to do? Right? You remember the North Star and OMTM, right? So North Star is our big goal, which is typically like a 6-month goal. So while I do not need to mention for every metric in 6 months, like increase website traffic by 30% in 6 months, because that's just my framework, I always keep it to a 6 months. But I've mentioned it, so if you want to adjust it, you can adjust it to 8 months, 10 months, 1 year, whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And then the OMTM, for me, I follow an OMTM typically for a 30-day period, right? But I have mentioned that 30 days, so you can basically just adjust it to 45 days or 40 days or whatever you think is suitable for your business, right? So North Star and OMTM, Swati, do you remember what was the key difference between the two?
Yeah, so I think North Star is the one goal that you'll focus on throughout. And OMTM, basically one metric that matters, that you'll be focusing on, suppose you're conducting an experiment. So what is the metric that you're focusing on right now to reach the North Star?
Exactly. So yeah, good for everyone else to review as well. So the OMTM was our focus metric for those next 30 days or that particular experiment, which has to feed into the North Star. So whatever OMTM you have should eventually improve your North Star. So if I'm getting 20 new subscribers in the next 30 days, it is feeding into my North Star, which is to increase the email list subscribers by 50% in the next 6 months, right? So if I have 100 subscribers, maybe I want to get to 150, and I'm getting 20 new in the next 30 days to start off the experiment. That's my OMTM right now. So OMTM could be goal-wise, team-wise, stage-wise, etc. Which leads us to the next one, which is the funnel stage. So we all remember the A3, R3 funnel.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets interesting. Mostly people would ask me a question about, let's clarify this. This is going to be acquisition. Okay. So mostly people would ask me a question about, okay, can I have more than one funnel stages for one campaign? And the answer is typically I would avoid that. I would avoid to have more than one funnel stages. But yes, in certain cases, it's completely fine. So let's say, for example, if I'm running a Facebook ads campaign where I'm driving traffic from the website, you see that most people would think Facebook ads, okay, awareness and acquisition. Honestly, it really depends on what's happening in this particular campaign. Since this is sample data, it's not up yet. But let's assume that this campaign was to just drive website visitors. In that case, I would just call it awareness campaign, right? So we have traffic coming in, we have visitors coming in. If this was to a landing page, which would convert people, then I would call it an acquisition campaign, right? So it would really depend on what's happening. Now, Facebook ads campaign as an experiment itself can be any stage of the funnel. It depends on what you're doing. If it's a retargeting campaign, it could even be in the retention stage of the funnel.
Okay.
So it would really depend on the campaign. So the short answer is this is just a sample. And the question about whether we should have more than one, yes, in certain cases you can. Let's look at the last one, which is the chatbot integration. You might have seen this, Swati, when you go on a website, you might have a chat bot on that website. It could be a bot, and then it could also direct you to some support executives if you really cannot, if they the bot figures out that it cannot help you, right? So it could redirect you to a support executive. Now, in this case, you might use the chatbot for essentially getting people to use your product, to answer questions, to give them guide them through the sales journey, but you could also use it for your existing customers to give them support to answer their questions, etc. So it could be in both activation and retention. It could be in both acquisition and retention as well, if it's used for sales. And
so at the same time, like we focused on on Facebook ads, it depended on what kind of ad it is, whether we're leading them to the landing page or not. So at the same time, can it we like have two stages. For example, in the chatbot, we've written activation and retention.
Very good question. So I would do it this way. If I'm a small startup, okay, and I have very few people, as you can see here, it's me, you, and Harris. Like, we are 3 people in the team. I would just focus on one thing at a time. So what I would do is, I would keep my OMTM as 50% reduction in support tickets in the next 30 days, and then just keep it for retention. So customer support would provide me with better retention metrics, right?
Okay.
And then once this is done, let's say it's 30 days and it works, and then I say, okay, let's put it as a process. Now the bot is doing the work by itself. So now I would change the experiment focus to 50% improvement in traffic to lead conversion. And now I'm using it for acquisition. So I changed it. And then my North Star obviously here is to increase the website conversions by 50% in 6 months, which is my North Star, which I've used above as well. So now for the next 30 days, I'm using this chatbot integration to check acquisition. And maybe this does not work, maybe this works. If it works, I can integrate it with I can scale it by just putting the bot in the website in place, find out what best integration worked, and then let it run on the website, and then stop focusing on this experiment, do the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So that would be my process. That's a very good question. So I would take it, I would use it, I would keep experimenting with it, feed it enough information. In those 30 days, I'll be able to get more insights from the people's questions, answer those questions, add it to the database of the chatbot. Once I think that the chatbot is ready to go on its own, he or she does not need me, I would let it run on the page. And then I would remove this experiment from my sample or, my current experiments to my library. So my library of experiments has all the experiments which I have used, let's say, in the past. And this would be, a library where I can always go and search for different goals, different OMTMs. Let's say I get a new client and they also want 5 new customers for referrals. I can just see which experiments I did in the past. I can see which tools I used for those experiments, which is very useful. So oftentimes, let's say we have a new customer or something, and then we want to, do a specific experiment. We don't have to research the tools again. We can just go to the tools in our library and then tap into that tool as needed, right?
Okay.
So this is the database of tools. Now, there is one final thing that I want to show you in this, which is the experiment success score. And this is something you saw was not in the sample, but it is there in the library, because this only applies to the experiments that I have executed in the past. Okay.
Okay.
Let me show you with any one example. Let's say the referral program. So we develop a referral program with incentives. We want 50 new customers in 6 months. That's the OMTM through the referral program. We break it down into that's the North Star, sorry. We break it down to the OMTM, which is to get 10 new customers in the next 30 days. Now, this obviously applies to the referral stage of the funnel, no doubt about that. Of course, you might say, now this is something we briefly discussed in the past, you might say you're getting 10 new customers. So is it acquisition? No, it's referral, because it shows the success of your referral campaigns. And it's the users in the referral stage of the funnel for which this experiment is designed for, and hence it falls into the referral stage. No questions about that. And then the tools that we use is Referral Candy, Google Analytics. Imagine if you had to start a referral program from scratch, you might search online, what are the best referral tools? Then you might have Referral Candy and 2 others. Then you might want to check which one is better. So you'll save all that time, knowing that you already had a high success score with Referral Candy in the past. And that's what the last column is for, which is the experiment success score. You see that my experiment success score for this particular experiment was 87. Now let's talk a little bit about the score. The score is out of 100. And I follow the SPICE score, which I have coined. It's a term I have coined because I did not really like the ICE score, which is something that was already existent in the growth hacking, growth marketing ecosystem. People use the ICE score, which is impact, confidence, and ease. And they treat those factors equally, right? How I've defined SPICE score is scalability, past data, impact, confidence, and ease. So the experiments that I've done should be scalable. That's like my high priority. And they should be very high impact on my goals, on my business goals. So if they have a great impact on my business goals and they're scalable, I multiply them by a factor of 0.3, which is a high multiplier.
Okay.
For some people who are just starting out, maybe they don't need them to be scalable. In that case, they may not want to give such a high factor to scalability. For me, I'm giving a high importance to scalability, hence multiplying it by a factor of 0.3. And then past data is the next most important thing after scalability and impact for me. I honestly do not think that I need a lot of past data because I can get data from case studies, my friends, my startup ecosystem connections, etc. So I have other sources of getting past data rather than my own experiments as well. I'm part of a good community. This is the reason why I created Growth Grad, so people can join the Growth Nation community on growthgrad.com, where we can discuss what experiments they're trying to do. And then other people's past data can help you make a decision whether that experiment would be successful or not. So I multiplied past data by 0.25. That's the factor. And then I have confidence, which is how confident I am about this. I honestly do not think it's as important as scalability, past data, and impact, because confidence changes. Different times you have different levels of confidence, but I'll keep it at 0.1. Of course, this also means confidence also means that you're able to execute something like this or not. And if not, I can always hire people. I'm at that stage where if I'm not confident, I'll hire someone to do it for me. So I'll keep it at 0.1. And then the ease of execution. If it's a little bit harder to experiment to execute, I feel it'll have an edge above other people. So I don't treat ease as very high importance. But I completely understand if you're a very small startup or a freelancer, you might want to increase the importance of ease because you don't want too difficult experiments that you're not even able to execute, right? So for me, ease is the least important, and hence the multiplier there is 0.05.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to measure your success for each campaign, because you have all these different factors, not just numbers.
Right. And before, I did define SPICE score as all of these factors without having the different weights assigned to them. So I used to treat them equally. But as I have learned, as I have executed more experiments, I wanted to improve it a little bit. So now it's more importance to the factors that I think are more important, and that could change with time. So overall, this is what I follow. What I would suggest is someone starting out should give more importance to ease, confidence, and impact rather than past data and scalability, because they may not have past data and they may not be in a position to decide what is scalable or not. They'll only learn that over time.
Right.
So
it could also
basically. Right. So no, I was just asking, when you do influencer marketing, how scalable is it? How scalable is influencer marketing? If I had to ask you that question.
Yeah, I think we discussed it in one of the past lessons also that, it is, I would say, it is like scalable, and I think it's important. It's an important factor as well.
You can scale it by improving the number of influencers or just your outreach process, just feeding into your outreach process. But if I had to ask you, on the other hand, that you should reach out to all my followers on Instagram and ask them to buy my product, how scalable is that? When you run out of followers, you run out of followers, right? It's a nice experiment. I mean, people who are connected to you on Instagram may be more likely to buy from you, right? It could have more impact in the short term versus influencer marketing. Followers of influencers may not know you, but how scalable is it, right? Let's say you have 1,000, 10,000, maybe 1 million followers. After that, what do you do? Right? You might get 5 mega influencers with 2 million followers each. You can 10x your. That's really scalable compared to reaching out individually to your own followers. So there are things which are scalable, there are things which are not. Just takes a little bit time to understand those kinds of numbers, and assigning a value to it could be harder. So you see that obviously I'm able to reach a situation where I'm getting numbers in 70s, 80s, and even 90s sometimes. I don't know, sometimes, rarely. I could be a little hard on myself, but some of those like A/B testing, I've sort of mastered. 92 here for product trial activation. But then there are some which are, as you see, 70, right? So here I am not very happy with this score, 72, etc. But don't be afraid if you start out and you have experiment success scores very low initially. That's completely fine. As you become better as a growth marketer, you'll find that you have a library of good experiment scores, and that's the best part about this. You can always just sort this list out, and then you know which are your best experiments, right? As a growth marketer, these are the best experiments that you can do, and you can also do it the other way around. So you can see like which ones you did not do that well. Maybe UI UX implementations for you is not the thing, or you need a better team, or you need better tools, etc. And then you can go and see, okay, what tools did I use? How can I improve this in the future?
Right. So yeah, I think it's great. How often do you come back to your stack? Is it like every time you're going to continue experiment?
Good question. So I would do this exercise whenever I have a new client, or when I'm designing new experiments for an existing client. So, I have to tap into the library to do that. So typically it happens once or twice a month. And then I am not able to show the third tab in this, but basically the third tab is the same thing, but the experiments that I'm running right now, there I do have a weekly update. So I do week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So if there's a 30-day OMTM, I would go back and just say, okay, week 1, this is the result. Week 2, this is the result. Let's say there's a number that I'm chasing. I'll just update the number every week so that I know how it's going on a week-on-week basis. And that's the tab that I would typically, that's the experiment tracker side of things. It's not the stack side, but it's the tracker side. That's something that I would see every week. And the stack I would see once a month. So it's like a 2-in-1 sheet with the experiment tracker as well as the stack.
Right. Yeah, I think everyone should keep one now.
I would
it's a great way
for all your clients. If you had 3 clients, you should make 3. So
yeah,
as well.
That's nice. Yeah, that's another perspective.
Yeah. So if you're a growth marketing consultant, share your growth stack with the client. Make a stack for them. They'll be really happy. They'll thank you because they'll know what tools have been used, what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There was some really good questions, Swati. Any other question on this?
No, I can't think of anything right now.
Awesome. So I think this, you would agree what I said earlier was, this will bring together a lot of things that we discussed in the course, the growth stack. It brings back the tools, the channels, the workflows, the metrics, the OMTM and North Star, and, also the scores, prioritization, experimentation, all of that put together into one place.
Yes.
Great. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and we are heading towards the last course, last lesson of the day, which is going to be our next one. So enjoy your time and make sure that you make your growth stack for yourself as a growth marketer, as well as for your clients. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.